Becoming obsessed can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And while I typically talk about becoming obsessed as loving yourself and building a life that really serves you, a life worthy of obsession, sometimes there's side quests in there that are just chasing a passion, an obsession, something that you have to do in life. And there's someone I get to talk to every single week. And the conversation is never dull because he has so many passions and obsessions, and he is a person who goes after them and makes them happen. I am so excited to finally have Nate Watson on the podcast. He is the CEO of Contemporary Analysis and the executive chair of the Omaha Data Science Academy. And like I said, he has many obsessions. He's a transplant to Omaha. Selfishly, one of the reasons I want you on the podcast, Nate, is so that you can help tell everyone who's not here how amazing Omaha is.
We can do that. We're going to insert the crowd cheering and the sparkles. Yeah, it is fascinating being. I tell people I'm not from here. I'm an import, like fine wine or cheese, and I do find it fascinating that on many occasions I love this city more than people who grew up here. Part of it, I think, is they think it's Omaha. It's not that spectacular, but I've lived in a few cities and it is spectacular. Omaha, you should realize this is a pretty cool place to be.
It's funny. You and I were just in a conversation earlier this week with somebody, and she asked you, she was like, "Where are you from?" And she expected you to say like Chicago or some like big city.
No, I'm from the middle of nowhere in southern Missouri, like 2 counties off the bottom. I grew up as a poor farm kid in a very small town, which is funny because I do relate to so many people who are like, I graduated with 31 people. Yeah, me too. And it is so cool to connect with those. But then I spent a decade in Kansas City and connect with the people who have spent their entire lives in, Old Market or whatever. And kind of the best of both worlds. Omaha really truly is the best of both of those.
Yeah. It is. I has that small town kind of feel and charm, but the big city, you can do anything that you want. And we'll get into more on Omaha because I know that we could talk forever about it, but I really want
It's a whole
to.
podcast, Becoming Obsessed with Omaha.
That might be the title of this one. It might end up being the
we'll
title.
Come back to that one.
I really want to get into, though, how your journey to becoming the CEO of Contemporary Analysis went. I know a little bit about the transitions along the way, but that's really what I want to know is the journey to become CEO, the struggle, the hardship, the decisions, the I almost want to say so often we have to quit something to chase something bigger. And that's what I want to hear.
Yeah, it's a circuitous story. It's a good thing it's a 60-minute podcast. So I have a geology degree, environmental geology, and a GIS degree from Northwest Missouri State University. I come from, like I said, a little town in southern Missouri. I was actually enrolled and ready to go to Purdue University. My family's from Indiana. Purdue was always a dream of mine. I was going to be an engineer and a forestry major. And I even have, I still have it. I have the classes that I enrolled in. And somewhere along the line, I forgot to check a box that I wanted to live on campus. And so they called me and they're like, hey, listen, we're missing a piece of information. Where are you living? And I said, I don't know. You tell me. And they said, oh no, we don't have a spot for you. And you can't have a car if you're a freshman. So you have to live off campus, but also have no transportation in a town similar to Omaha where you can't do anything unless you have a car. And so I ended up at Northwest Missouri State, which was my second choice from the very beginning. Not that there's anything wrong with being a Bearcat. I loved it. I actually got there and realized I didn't want to go anywhere else. They didn't have forestry or engineering, so I ended up as a biology major. I got to my sophomore year and realized I didn't really want to do that. I had general geology. Weirdly enough, I had a whole class in gems and realized that I was a rock guy. Like, you should see my rock collection at home. I'm obsessed with rocks. We could do a whole one becoming obsessed with rocks. But yeah, I have a whole geology degree, and I spent 6 or 7 years doing geology after college. I met my wife at Northwest. We moved to Kansas City in the early 2000s, got married, and I did environmental work all over the United States. I was on the road all the time, like 35 weeks a year, 42 weeks the last year. I was in geology and just realized I That's a long time away
Mhm.
from your spouse.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I needed something different. As obsessed as I was with geology, as obsessed with I was with cleaning up the environment and really doing amazing things and making a boatload of money, by the way, I realized that money was not my obsession. And I ended up in insurance. It was the first time. It's so strange to meet me now, and you're like, wow, Nate's a sales guy and a natural leader. And I wasn't any of that stuff in geology. And I ended up in insurance and went to my first sales class and found a new obsession. And that was, I really, really enjoyed helping people. I really, really enjoyed talking to people and learning about their story. In the same way that you have a podcast, my favorite question in doing home and auto insurance was, what do you do for a living? And how
Mhm.
in the world did you find that? Because I vividly remember growing up in a little teeny town where in math we had this big piece of cardboard that was laminated that had all the jobs that you could have, all of them, all
All
40 of them. There was 40,
If you wanna be in the medical industry, you can be a doctor or
and
a
it showed you
nurse.
what math that you needed. And so I literally thought there was 40 things to do. And then I got into insurance and realized there were thousands and thousands and thousands. And uh, I really loved that job. It was a passion of mine, and I was good at it. I ended up moving to Omaha. My wife's from here,
Mhm.
so it wasn't a random town. But I knew 11 people when I moved here, and I was related to all of them. But we were coming up from Kansas City to Omaha all the time to see my nieces and nephews, and it just made sense. And so we decided to move up here, and we were going to open up an insurance agency up here. And in a whole nother story, it imploded pretty spectacularly. The thing that we moved up here with a contract to buy wasn't nearly the size that it was supposed to be. It was only 100 clients, which if you've ever been in insurance is not that many. It wasn't going to pay any of the bills. I was going to go back to 100% commission. My wife was a teacher, by the way. So, a two-person income in Omaha in the 2000s, $50,000 still doesn't cut it. So I was looking for something else. I ended up as a financial planner. I really didn't care for that. That was not my passion. I was not obsessed with that. I'm glad there people are. I have a financial planner, and he's obsessed with my financial planning, and I'm so happy he is. But that was not my cup of tea. And so it was interesting, but I had to be there to get here. Looking back, it is pretty obvious. I was looking for, as a financial planner, you want to be the financial planner of billionaires. Well, how do you become the financial planner of a billionaire? Well, you know them when they're not even millionaires.
Mhm.
So I was looking for really young individuals who had ambition and stumbled upon this young man named Grant. Grant said he was going to be a billionaire. I still believe he's going to be, but he had this company called Contemporary Analysis. And when I decided to leave financial planning, I said, Grant, what do I do? Like, I don't even know what to do with my life. I'm listless. I don't know where to go. And he said, well, what are you doing right now? It's like a Friday afternoon. I said, well, I'm sitting on the steps outside of my financial planning office, wondering about how to go home or when to call my wife and tell her I just left. And he said, no, 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 no. You work for me now. Come to this networking event. And I said, what? And I drove to a network event at SPN, which was at the time on Leavenworth, and walked into a networking event I knew nobody at. And Grant handed me a stack of cards that he had taken and crossed his name off and wrote Nate Watson in. Handed me a stack of contemporary analysis cards and said, congratulations, you're my new head of sales. And that was how I got hired here. And then spent the next, 3 or 4 years understanding and learning about what it meant to help an organization figure out where their data was, how to use it, how to build visualizations off of it. Ended up becoming the head of operations or head of division and then head of operations. And then one day in 2015, Grant and I decided that the company had a piece of software that we had built for another customer. He wanted to take that software and go raise capital using VC. That was not what I wanted to do. And so we shook hands on it and basically said, we will split the company in half. And we did. I went and raised some capital from some friends of mine that essentially helped me buy it. And so we bought it in May of 16. And here we go. In 2016, we decided that we wanted to, one of my passions had always been teaching. So one of my
Mhm.
obsessions, besides rocks and jewels, is helping organizations um, not only figure out how to use their data and build visualizations and eventually what will become AI, but also how to do it themselves. Empower the great to build something greater is always a philosophy I've lived by, the whole teach a man to fish philosophy. And so we started building the company around that. We kind of took the company down a passion role with this obsession to build and better Omaha, build a data science community, make them better. And this is 2016 when there wasn't any degree. There wasn't a degree. I can speak English, I promise. There wasn't a degree at UNL or UNO or Bellevue or Metro or Midlands. All of them have data science degrees now, but there wasn't one. So we decided we would start an academy, and what came out of it was the Omaha Data Science Academy, which is licensed, and cross your fingers, depending on when this comes out, and hopefully accredited here in the next month or so. So we've become obsessed with helping organizations, but also helping the people inside of those organizations. We have a two-part mission statement, which is accessibility and sustainability for the data science community, and we do that through consulting and teaching. So that's how I got here. That's how I became obsessed with Omaha. That's how I became obsessed with data science. That's how I became obsessed with putting data science in Omaha.
Something that I just feel really aligned on is working with people, business owners, companies who know they maybe need to be doing a little bit more and they just don't have the hands, the resources, the education to take more on themselves. And I know that that's really where the Omaha Data Science Academy is such a good resource in partnership for contemporary analysis, where you're able to build up the workforce and help these companies do more than what they could do by themselves.
Yeah, it's interesting. The peers of mine that I run into or that other organizations talk to, it's a very different conversation, right? They're engaged in how do I build a data science tool or platform or product that they can never fire me from. And I have to be there forever, right? It's like IBM and Oracle's way of doing business is land, expand, and hook into everything you can so that you can never go away. And I realized not only do I hate that and want no part of that inside of contemporary analysis, I can't imagine other organizations want that either. So
Yeah.
when we started having conversations about, okay, at some point, there is value to having my logo on your shirt to get you off the ground. There's so much politics and red tape and lessons learned and de-risking that goes into hiring a consultant to figure out AI, to figure out data engineering, to figure out data visualization and usage of data. But at some point, the logo on your shirt has to be yours. The person that is managing and the person that is doing it, their obsession has to be the betterment of the company they work for. And there are, I don't know, 25,000 companies in this town. I'm obsessed with all of them. So I have to do more and be in more places. My obsession can't be your company. You have to be in charge of your obsession of your company. And that's what we try and do is I'll be there to help you. I will handhold. I will teach you how to fish all day long. But at some point, it is your fish and it is your responsibility to fish. And I get obsessed with that. I love when companies can do it on their own. I love when companies do the all day, everyday stuff, tasks themselves. We get to step into a cool role that we call masters and minions, which is I have amazingly smart, wise staff, and then I have a lot of staff, right? So the academy provides the ability to hire 20 interns that work for 6 weeks and then go away, right? Which is an important part of that. But it is also the principal data scientists that have worked through us through the years that you would love to have, but are way too expensive to have on your payroll every day. But you need them 3 or 4 weeks a year. We have both ends, right? So you take that big swath in the middle, it becomes your organization, and then we help on both sides when the time arises. And I just love that model. It allows me to help a bunch of companies and really try and improve Omaha's businesses, Omaha's nonprofits, the state of Omaha. We do and are going to do a ton of stuff with the state. So we're improving all of it. We're obsessed with making Omaha better, whether it likes it or not.
I know I have a lot of people that listen that are maybe like small business owners. They
Mhm.
are a one woman, one man show, or maybe there's some people in corporate, the 9 to 5. But when you're talking about data science consulting, like coming in to help these companies with their masters and their minions, in the most kind of like simplistic, explain it to me like a 5-year old, how is data science improving these companies, these nonprofits, Nebraska as a whole?
That's a great question because it's not just the giant companies. The mutuals and the ConAgras and the Union Pacifics have 20-person data science teams. They use me for staff augmentation anyway. By the way, let's see, how do you measure staff? I mean, I'm a one-man shop. The consulting is. I have a whole bunch of data scientists that work for us part-time and consulting. Occasionally, I'll have a full-time data scientist, but I manage a bunch of folks. The academy is its own animal, right? It has its own president and its own P&L. Data science is used, so in its simplistic form, it is you have data. What is it trying to tell you? And the examples I throw to people are, who are your best customers? Shockingly, who your best customers are sometimes not your biggest customers, and they're sometimes not your smallest customers. They're who you have the most of. But understanding who your marketing and your message gets, right? That's in the data. That's important to know because if there's a disconnect there of I'm aiming for this, but everybody I get is this, we need to either fix your message or fix how you're making profit on the people that you get. We look at things like churn, who's getting ready to leave your company, and predicting with decent accuracy. 1 or 2 people are going to leave your company. It's probably one of these 6 people. And what's interesting when you start getting data like that is, okay, I can actually start to fix that. If one of
Mm,
these 6 people of my 500 customers is predicted to leave, let's talk to them. Let's figure out, are they looking? Why are they looking? Is it because they don't have the second product that I sell? Or because I put them in the wrong products, or I sold them the wrong products, the right products, but in the wrong order? There's a lot of those types of things that I help a lot of companies, small companies sometimes, get their hands wrapped around. Then there's data visualization, where all the things that you're measuring being on a dashboard, and that's not a report. A report is something that happened last quarter, last year, but a live version of it. So I can tell you up to date numbers of, we have an academy. How many students do we have? How many, who attended last night? How are they doing? Is there somebody that's falling behind? Is there somebody that missed a bunch of questions on a test that we can call and say, hey, man, it doesn't seem like you grasped the message last night. Can I give you this other video to watch? Can you re-watch the video from last night again? Is there, because the goal is to give people knowledge, not to bust their tail over you didn't pass spectacularly, but to truly engage people. Yeah, to
yeah.
truly engage people. And I think that you can do that with customers. You can truly engage them, but you have to have that data readily available all the time. And then you start
Yeah.
getting into proactive, like predicting things are going to happen, having that stuff on visualizations so that you can see them and you can engage them. Business is hard enough getting customers, let alone keeping customers. Upselling, cross-selling is extremely hard. Marketing costs a ton of money. Payroll is a pain in the tail. Like all of these things, why not work on keeping your customers? And that's really what we engage people in. And then there's AI, right? AI, this new word that isn't a new word. It's been around since forever, but now it means something new. LLMs are new, but they're not new. We've been doing large language models forever. But how we engage with AI, what it means today, and how people use ChatGPT or Claude or Grok or any number of models is different. And we teach a free class on how to use it to write emails. Prompt engineering 101. There's a saying in AI that says a person with AI is going to beat the person without AI. And so you better
Hmm.
figure this out. So we help business owners engage in that, even if it's not in their business, in the direct operations of their business. It is in their business, building PowerPoints, writing emails, um, you know, getting their time correct, Even things like I work a ton of hours, having it plan my meals for the week, right?
Hmm.
That doesn't help contemporary analysis, but it does because it helps me not be stressed, which then makes a better CEO. Like there's all those things that AI does that really do affect your org that we help people engage with. So it's the interaction of data, one person or 100 people or 10,000 people is the same every time. And we want to help those organizations figure that out. The entrepreneurialism, the small business piece of this is a passion of ours. We're a small business. We want to help other small businesses. So the Data Science Academy is a small business in and of itself. So yeah, there's a real passion and obsession with, as you can tell, with just this and helping people engage in it in a way that they've never probably done before.
You started to get into what is a perfect segue in when I say becoming obsessed is at the corner of ambition and self care. The ambition side, you are running these companies, the academy. I know firsthand how busy you can get and how full your schedule can get. So, in addition to AI, what does that self care side look like for you? I know you have a family, you have a daughter. And so, how is, I hate to say work life balance, but how is that balance? How is that self care side? How are you playing and finding joy outside of work? So, like you said, you can show up better in work and with your family.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a quote in Ford versus Ferrari that I'm obsessed with, and it says, "It's truly a lucky man who knows what he wants to do in the world, because that man will never work a day in his life. But there are a few, precious few, and hell, I don't know if they're lucky or not. But there are a few people who find something they have to do. And when you become obsessed with something, work-life balance is right out the window, right? Because this is something I have to do. Now, it is interesting when you enjoy doing it. So I have many friends. We go play cards at a friend's house on Sunday night. And she, like many, many others, dreads Monday morning. Sunday night, I wish it was Friday night again. I don't want to go to work. How many people have said that? I've said that so many times in my life. I don't have that anymore. I know that Monday morning I'm going to have 751 emails to read. I've got 61 things on my to-do list that after I do 11 of them, the list is now 71 things to do. I know that at the end of the week, there will be 5 things I have to cross off the list that I just will never get to because there's 61 things on Monday morning that enter the list. The key is I get to do all of those things. And I get so excited about helping my companies and my nonprofits and my education orgs and my state figure this out. It is so rewarding. But that all being said, Nate needs to fish every once in a while. Nate has to paint a painting every once in a while. Nate has to go and have lunch with a Monet at the Joslin every once in a while because, oh my God, it's so overwhelming. It's a lot. Not to mention, I have an 11-year-old who is a gymnast, who is a baton connoisseur, who wants to start violin now. That's a new one. Like, girl, you don't have any time. She's a singer, a dancer. She's amazing. Like, she is the child of 2 CEOs. And so I'm the official Uber driver for an 11-year-old who has her fingers in everything. I am the official cook of the household, the official cooker of chicken nuggets, dino shaped, of course, and tacos, because I'm pretty sure that's all she eats. It's hard. It really is. And I think there's a couple pieces of advice here. And one is when you become obsessed, it's a different gear. The stress of doing work is different. The stress is I'm never going to get to all this. There's no dread in it. And I think that helps a lot. The entrepreneurs that love their business and are obsessed with whatever their business is, there is no work-life balance. We work all the time. But the stress is very different. I think it is literally a purposeful recharge, unplug event on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Couple of hours. I have snuck away and watched a movie by myself. I have snuck away to the Joslin, as aforementioned. I have sat in my office and done absolutely nothing except for like the crossword of the day or the Wordle for 20 to 30 minutes. I have ordered in when I could go and meet somebody for lunch, which, by the way, is another obsession I'm obsessed with. the restaurant scene in Omaha. But there are times where I DoorDash into the office and do nothing.
Hmm.
And it is so important to do some self-care like that. You can't save everybody. You can't do everything. It's important to have a time horizon to understand that I will not get every company in Omaha in a year, in 5 years, even in 10 years. In fact, half of the missions on Contemporary Analysis mission, they're for the next CEO to finish. And I think that horizon then frees me up to say, there's 71 things to do, but I'm going to go take an hour and go have lunch with the Monet and the Degas and the Pizarro today because I need it. I can, and all this stuff is going to take 35 to 40 years anyway. So I think it's important to do that. I think we hyper focus into, oh my God, I've got to get these 3 things done today. And that's fine. I have that too. I stay up super late sometimes writing proposals that need to be done at 8:00 the next morning. But don't forget the other piece too, that you are and have to do things to make yourself a better human, to keep your sanity and your stress levels. I think that that's important too.
You talked about a few ways that you play now, and I love all the ways that your daughter is experiencing life and playing. How did
The
you
violin thing's gonna
play?
kill me.
Yeah, you're like,
No,
oh gosh.
my ears.
Nate, how did you play when you were a kid?
So many of the things I've already talked about. I'm a farm kid, so the 4 or 5 square miles that I had access to were my oyster, right? I am a kid that loved to build stuff, even if that was to dam up the creek so that it made a big pond for no reason whatsoever. If it was to fish or to ride the 4-wheelers, ride the horses, whatever we needed to do there. We loved to camp growing up. So I did a fair amount of that, climb trees, all of that stuff when I was a typical kid with the farm. I found art in both music and painting and drawing as a kid. That went away for a number of years. I only recently rediscovered the painting thing. I was gifted one of my favorite paintings as a paint by numbers. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, this is really tacky. And the more I did it, the more I realized, 1, I missed painting. So have started that again. But 2, I appreciate my favorite painting more than I ever have because I painted it and it is really effing hard.
I
And
love
it's
that
still,
perspective.
I put it on my wall and it's one of my favorite things in my office. This is not it, by the way. The next time we have a podcast, I'll do it from my other office where we can show that. But it's, there's a Monet, there's a Walden, there's 2 Van Goghs, there's a bunch of local artists in my home office that.
Yeah, I've got some of my favorites that I
Yeah.
have seen the full in person right here.
And so I love that. I love doing that. I think the creative niche is so cool. And I played tuba in the marching band, or sousaphone in the marching band, tuba in the choir, or in the orchestra. I'll get it right. And that, going to those things, I don't get to play much anymore. But the symphony here is a huge passion of mine. Any of the Orpheum stuff is a huge passion of mine. I love to play doing that. But I'm an eater. I love and have found a passion in food. I mean, I told you I'm the cooker of dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets, but I also make cakes. So I bake, and I love the kitchen art. I love to eat other people who love kitchen art. I have a number of chefs that are friends of mine, to go eat at their restaurants, to explore. One of my favorite things to do is to go into a restaurant, and this came from being a geologist and on the road all the time. But they'd say, sir, what are you interested in? And I'd be like, I don't know. What's the weirdest thing you have? And what? What's weird on your menu? What can I not get anywhere else? I can get fried chicken. I can get hamburgers. I can get steak. What's weird? What's unique here? And what's the daily special? And I was never disappointed. And so I always get the weirdest salad dressing. I always get, that sounds weird. I'll have that, is a funny saying that all of my friends know I say a lot, apparently. And I just love that. I love trying new things and being in different places, and naturally love to explore. So that I get a lot out of, as much as I'm around people, as much as I manage people and lead people. I like to be by myself and do self things.
Yeah. What are some of the restaurants that you're obsessed with in Omaha?
Ah, yes. It's all even some of the normal ones, right? It's La Bouvette.
Yes.
It is Jackson Street Tavern, which their Oso Busco, I believe, is one of the best bites in Omaha. And I will fight you. I adore V Mertz and the Mexican place next to it. I love
Trini's.
Trini's is amazing.
My mom worked there when she was in high school or
Yeah,
when
I
she was
love that
younger.
place. And my uncle knows the owner so well. So, we go there quite a bit. I love Cottonwood and the restaurant in the bottom of the Cottonwood.
Hmm.
I
Chop House Committee, I believe.
Committee,
Committee
yep.
Chop House. Yep.
It's easy to say Salted Edge. I've had really great food experiences there. It is way, 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 way west.
Yeah, I don't much like going past 90th, so getting all the
You gotta
way
get a
out
visa
there.
to go to that part of Omaha. It's a different country. Yeah, we found the Chop House. We took the company to Legacy Chop House. I have found that I love restaurants that have. I love unique individual restaurants, right? V Mertz, Committee, Salted, but I also love restaurants that have like 10 to 15 others because they figured their stuff out and they have built process and the chefs are making food that has a quality line because somebody's looking at it. And weirdly, that makes them better until they get too big and then they kind of fall apart, right? But that's Tupelo Honey,
Hmm.
Biaggi's, 30 Hop, the place out west by the new Gundersons, and Mahogany. They're great restaurants. And so I love them too. I don't know. Talus is right by my house. Like, I love Talus. Black and Pine. There's so many now. I don't want to leave anybody out.
Yeah, it's like you got to list them all.
Yeah, the head of
Well,
Dinkers is going to be like, "What? I'm the best burger. Where's my shout out?" Sorry,
yeah.
Dinkers, Stella's. Like, yeah, it's all there. It's all amazing. The Korean place in the strip mall by the base. Like, so many good places in town. Our food culture here is astonishing. My friends who are foodies in Kansas City, they'll rattle off 10, and I've been to them, and they are amazing. Don't get me wrong. But then they come here and they say, well, where are we going to dinner? What's your, give me 5, and I'll rattle off 30. And they're like, how are you still going? I'm like, because we have amazing restaurants here. We have to work on our service here, but we'll
Oh
figure
my
that out.
gosh.
We'll get us a Michelin star yet. It's a service thing that we're missing, not a food thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. You earlier talked about a, 25-year vision for the
Mm-hmm.
company, but I want to hear, Nate, what is your 25-year vision for Omaha?
Oh man, that's an interesting question that I'm shocked I don't get more of. Right, I would love and foresee a future where Omaha has a chief innovation officer and they have like a data officer, chief data scientist, some version of that, and we have embraced a couple of things. One, I know nobody wants to hear it, but we are the ag tech capital of the world. At least we should be. And we should embrace that all to pieces. But we could be, and the state is starting us down this path, right? We have a brand new chief data officer at the state. We have a brand new CDO, we have a CIO, CDO, CTO, and the office of the CIO, the general rule, is starting to build and bring our state into the 21st century, where we have a data warehouse, where we can access data, where all of Health and Human Services 17 databases, and there literally are 17 databases, talk to each other because they don't. I see our state becoming better at this, and not just
Mhm.
to save money. That's a good thing too, but to offer services in a way that we would want. I think the city's not far behind. I think that we can get the city and the county together because they're kind of the same. We can get them together and we can start accessing our data across silos. Having somebody who's in charge of owning data, which is not a CIO. It is not, which I know is Chief Information Officer. It sounds like it should be. It's not. It's not a CTO. It's not your head of operations. It is a brand new role. Someone who's in charge of data and someone who's in charge of disbursement of that data is so
Mm.
important. And I think that Omaha will have that. I think we'll use that to to do things like building what's it called, a reverse pitch, where if a company wants to build a something that has to do with a city, that Omaha could attract them with access to the data and some cash. But if you want access to our data and our cash, you've got to build your company here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then we could have amazing innovation in Omaha, right? We could attract talent from anywhere in the world because your first customer could be a 1,000,000-person city. And that white paper springboards you into how you get the city of Cleveland. It springboards you into how you get the city of Toronto or St. Petersburg or wherever, right? But you need a small city that isn't too big that is going to do a startup, that you can actually measure effectiveness, that is small enough that you can know all the players in a small amount of time. That's here. And
Mm-hmm.
so my 25-year vision really revolves around this idea of we need a head of innovation and we need a chief data officer. And if we can have those two individuals at a city county level and a state level, you can start to attract businesses. You can start to attract entrepreneurialism. You can start to attract VC by having simply access and the ability to do cutting edge work. And so we're really spearheading that. I think as we cross this 1,000,000-person threshold, we have to level up all of our nonprofits. Every
Mm-hmm.
single one of them has to use data. Every single one of them has to do ROIs and proof of effectiveness. That is only done through data. We have to have our funders start to demand it. So leveling up both the funding mechanisms and the nonprofits to understand that they should be asking those questions. They should be using their data better. They should be improving because we need it to improve. Every nonprofit's going to have more things to do, more people to help, a bigger need with lack of dollars, less lack of dollars, lack of less dollars. I'll get it right. Moving forward. And that is only done through scale and through process and through automation, which is all data driven. Then the main big audacious goal of building the largest data science ecosystem west of Silicon Valley really came out of this idea. There was and this is long before I got here, but the other two owners came from Minneapolis, and they tell the story that Minneapolis 10 or 15 years ago was getting ready to do a big tax incentive to overhaul downtown. And the front page of the Minneapolis Herald, World Herald, Times, whatever it is, the paper, basically said, if you don't do this, if you don't vote this in, if we don't spend the money, we'll just be a cold version of Omaha. Whoa, hang on a second.
What?
I'm offended by this, right? I wasn't even here at the time and I'm offended by this. There is a real chance that if we don't spend the time and we don't spend the effort to level up our companies, that we'll just be a really cold Midwest hub. We'll have nothing unique and no headquarters here. And everybody who's like, I don't know, really? Because ConAgra is headquartered in Chicago now, and TD Ameritrade is headquartered in Texas now. How many more do we have to lose before you realize that we've got to be better at this? We've got
Mm-hmm.
to have data and data science and data-driven decisions and data-driven processes and AI in all of our companies here so they don't get bought. Because remember, the idea of AI, somebody with AI will eat the lunch of somebody without AI works for companies too. Companies with AI will buy the companies without AI every single time. So all these companies are like, I don't know if I can invest in AI. Well, you better, or Omaha just becomes a cold Midwest hub.
Beep, beep. This is a perfect time to pop in here and tell you about Canalytics. Nate and Contemporary Analysis are bringing together Nebraska's Machine Learning, Data Science, and AI Summit. On May 15th, they're bringing together the builders, analysts, architects, and leaders who are shaping the future of data in Nebraska. I will be there and I would love to see you there. You can expect real world insights from leaders in Nebraska's data community, including the state chief data officer, live demos from people who are actually working with data in organizations, create meaningful connections, and I heard a rumor there will be cake. We're celebrating a few anniversaries for contemporary analysis and the Omaha Data Science Academy. Jump to the show notes for the link and use code BOP, BOP, for 30% off your tickets. See you there.
And there's this soapbox that I have to get on to get people to understand that you've got to look more than just the next quarterly statement, right? We have a customer who introduced us to their customers. They're a customer in town, software company in town. They're doing amazing AI and data science. It's pretty obvious who they are if you hang out at any of our quarterly meetups or our yearly event, or you spend any time on our blog or our website, or you just talk to me for 20 minutes. But they introduced us to their customers, and their customers are multi-billion-dollar publicly traded companies. They have a $5 million AI budget this year. Hey, Mutual, what are you spending on AI? Because if it's not $5 million, you're behind. And if you're behind, you can't spend $5 million next year because they're spending $7 million next year. You have to spend $14 or $15 million on AI next year to catch up. We better start figuring this out, or our companies will be bought by those who do figure it out, and we'll just be a cold Midwestern hub of everybody else where their headquarters are on the East and West Coasts. And that's, we can't do that. We can't be that. We have amazing companies here that are doing amazing things, right? The Kiewits, and I'll give, the some of the Omaha companies credit. They are doing amazing things. The Union Pacifics and the Kiewits are pioneering some amazing stuff, but that's not just for Fortune 500s. And I'm not saying that the $10 million companies can spend $5 million on AI, but you better be spending a proportionate amount of your income figuring it out. And it is not a piece of software. It is not a person. It is not just a consultant. It is a philosophical change inside of your organization to use data to drive your decisions. And you can tell that I'm obsessed with this. I love this town. I can't have it go away. I can't have it become, just a place in the plain. It has the potential to be something amazing. And that's what I'm here to help build. That's what I'm here to help foster. That's what I'm here to become obsessed with and to build for the next 25 years or more.
Well, Nate, for anyone who is listening and is either like, okay, hold on, what are we talking about here? Let me dig into this deeper. Or that they are like, yep, I'm hearing you. I need to get on this in my company and be a part of making Omaha into this next phase of it being a great city. How can people connect with you? How can people work with you? Or maybe sign up for the Academy?
Sure. Yeah. Well, thanks for the teed up softball here. So we have a website called Can Work Smart. A contemporary analysis adopted that URL a long time ago. If you go to our website, we're having a new website rollout here soon. My email is simply nate@canworksmart.com. Happy to help. We don't charge until there's fingers on keyboards, and we're very serious about that. If your organization, big or small, nonprofit, for-profit, government entity, education, whatever, and it's funny because I've gotten two universities have called me in the last 5 minutes since I've been on this phone call that we're chasing. If you just want advice, if you just want to know where to start, if you just want to talk about how to get your team pointed in the right direction, I am happy to introduce you to our technical team. If you just want philosophy and strategy and vision, I am happy to spend time with you and to help you figure that out. No charge. It is such a passion of mine, such an obsession of mine to get Omaha rowing in the right direction that I'm willing to take the time to do so. And we have a quarterly meetup and we have a yearly meetup in May and all of that stuff. We have a newsletter that is written by yours. Well, not yours truly, this one over here, called the Can Learn Smart newsletter. If you go to my LinkedIn page, you can find it. Nathan Watson, 35, I believe. Nathan Watson, 35. Is my LinkedIn. Right there next to my beautiful picture is the link to the newsletter. Get signed up. Lots of information about that stuff. I just want to help any way I can, however I can. If your need is to be taught or to learn. If you want to learn personally, or you want your organization to train some people internally, well, we have a whole academy for that. The Omaha Data Science Academy exists. Their website is Can Learn Smart. See what we did there? CanLearnSmart.com. The head of the academy's name is Crystal Ryder. You will likely recognize her name from such past amazingness as she was the head of AM Code School for a while. She was the event coordinator or whatever for 75 North. She was the president of the Do Space. Like, she has done a ton for Omaha. Her passion is in the nonprofit space. And if you talk to her, and she should be on this podcast at some point, a lot of her soapbox obsessions sound a lot like mine. Leveling up the nonprofit world, figuring out and how to help Omaha as it grows bigger and the need becomes more of homelessness, of low socioeconomic, of getting people into higher paying jobs. All of those things the academy is really designed to do. And she being at the helm of that is driving that success. And she's amazing. But canlearnsmart.com, you can take some classes from us, or we can train with you with all of that. So those are the two ways to get in touch with us. And we are so excited to be part of this community and really to hold hands and join forces with so many others that have passion for Omaha. Please don't take that the wrong way, that I think I'm the only one doing this. There are a lot of organizations that have the same passion for this city, and it's so fun to partner with them and to build empire here, to build this town into an empire of greatness. We've done a lot of great things. We have a lot of great things still left to do. There's some things that we've only done good that could be better, that could be great. And we need people to take those missions on themselves and be like, I'm going to fix this and I'm in charge of it. And it is not a 1 year, 5 year, or 10-year thing. I'm in charge of it forever until I die. And then the next person who gets a passion is taking it over from me. And it becomes their obsession, their thing that they wake up on Monday morning excited to do. We need more of that. And I think we're getting there. I think as a city, we're getting there. Pretty excited about all.
So if you want to connect with Nate, Contemporary Analysis, the Omaha Data Science Academy, all of those links will be in the show notes. And if you are still with us, hit follow, hit the 5-star review, send this to a friend, send a text, put it on your story. It helps get the word out so more people can live a life that they truly love. Nate, this has been great. Thank you for coming on Becoming Obsessed.
You and me can talk for a year. We could have our whole podcast of just you and me. And so thank you.
Speaking of, Nate, where is your podcast all about how great Omaha is? I'm waiting for it.
So funny that you say that, as we almost ended right there. It's coming. One of the crazy things that I discovered in being here is how much we don't know our own story. So there are 50 startups and exits that I want to, and probably way more than that, but I have a list of 50 that we're going to do in podcast form, where we start talking about the Inicoms. We start talking about the how FDR spun off 6 of the giant companies here in Omaha, how there's a daisy chain of, triple seat to flywheel to workshop. Some of these companies that you've never heard of, right? That have sold for $1 billion with a B. We have $2 billion exits, and no one talks about them. Some famous founders that I would love to talk with, the Steve Eidelmans and the original stories of the Kiewits and the Leo A. Dailies, I think are so important for us to know. I think it's so important. It's something I will become obsessed with if I start that obsession podcast, is somewhere in this town needs to be a giant painting and a list, at least on a website, where the stories, the proof that it has been done here, can be done here, and will be done here again, I think is so important for our younger generation to understand. There are too many stories that are the Evan Williams of Twitter, who is from Nebraska, who went to Lincoln, who was told he shouldn't build Twitter, can't build Twitter, certainly can't build Twitter here, and then goes to the coast and builds Twitter, which should be a Nebraska company. Twitter, the the fact that we had CareerLink, right? CareerLink was Monster.com or LinkedIn long before them. It was here 10 years before all of those things. And, LinkedIn or Monster or some version of those should be built here. We've got to figure out a way to show the dreamers you can build it here. You should build it here. You should stay here and build it here. That is how we replace the TD Ameritrades and the ConAgras that inevitably do leave. Some of them have to, but we can build it here. And yes, there likely is a podcast coming whenever I find time, right? Of the amazingness and the amazing stories that we just don't know anymore of all the cool things that we've built over the years here. So thank you for reminding me it's coming.
Well, we'll leave you with that. All right, let's go get obsessed.
Thanks for having me. This has been great. I love your podcast, and I love how it's not just a tell me about contemporary analysis. It's the obsession of people who were driven to do things. And I've listened to a third of your podcast at this point, and every one of them is inspirational in that if you listen to it on your way to work, you will find new passion for what you're trying to build. And I love that. So thank you for doing this. This is really, really cool.
I appreciate you saying that. I didn't know you listened, Nate.
Well, I mean, when you invited me, I had to wait.
Yeah, you had to see what it was all about.
Again? What am I doing? I have to go figure out. So yeah, I've listened to, I don't know, 10 of the 40, whatever. What number is this, by the way?
So episode 55 is live today, the day we're recording. This podcast is coming out in like 6 weeks. So,
right, so I'm not quite a quarter of the way there. I think I'm 14 or 15 in.
Okay.
So, a fifth. I'm a fifth of the way there.
That's solid. I'll take that data.
Yeah. And they're all great, by the way.